Yeah, my name is Bonnie Ellert, and I'm glad to be here. Everybody's made me feel so welcome. John and Dennis, I remember your names. I come from just a little bit about me. I come from a large Catholic family. I already mentioned that, although I've lapsed into Lutheranism. I'm the youngest of 12 kids, 6 boys and 6 girls. If you are familiar with Garrison Keillor, I come from right where he talked about his Chatterbox Cafe in Lake Wobegon, and yeah, an interesting part of Minnesota. What I like about your church is the fellowship. You're all so kind and gentle, and you really seem to have a community together, and that's really impressive to me. The Bridge is a lot like that. It's a community, it's a fellowship, there's meaning behind it, there's a spirit there, there's an essence. We host a dozen 12-step meetings, and I know that you're familiar with that because you have several at your own church, which is great. The 12-step program believes in a higher power and a spirit, and that lives and breathes at the Bridge. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult to walk that line between funding we get from Region 5 and a spiritual aspect, but I see it every day that they blend together. So a little bit about the Bridge. I know that you're aware of where we are and what we do, just from what you can read, and I have a feeling many of you have been involved with donations and bins and gathering things like socks and underwear and personal hygiene products and things like that. But part of the real story behind the Bridge, to me, this is my first venture into nonprofit, and I picked an interesting one to go to. My background is more corporate marketing, newspaper business. I've traveled around. I love Lincoln. I've been here for 20 years. So this is really out of my comfort zone and a real blessing. I think God brought me here and to this church today too. The Bridge is known by many in the community as, to be honest, the drunk tank. Cornhusker Place is what we used to be known as. Our clients, just a little bit about our clients. Most of our clients are male, 74%. 3/4 are between the ages of 21 and 40. 51% of our clients make less than $10,000 a year. 57% have no health insurance. And alcohol is the #1 drug of choice of 90% of the clients that we see. Those are facts that kind of stare you in the face, that are kind of hard to read and hear about. I looked at the board last week. In the admissions room is a large board. It's divided into grids, and each client has a space where there's a little bit about the client, what their admission date is, who their counselor and their nursing assignments are, a little bit about why they're there, and a photograph. And we put photos of when they come in and photos of when they depart, when they're getting ready to leave. And the transformations in their faces is pretty remarkable. I did a little statistics on them. Of the 17 men that are on the board right now, 9 are there because of incarceration. Whether that's parole, probation, federal parole, local parole, these guys have had a tough life, and they are trying their best. They have to commit to the desire to get better. They have to commit to investing in themselves. Even though we are Region 5 funded and we depend upon donations, we don't turn people away. If they need medications, we have an emergency fund where we provide their whatever it might be. We take care of them. We do not turn them away because they can't afford it. But we do ask them to pay at least a $10 a month stipend, so to speak, so it applies to their account so that they take it seriously. You invest in what you pay for. You're significantly more likely to take your program seriously if you make a commitment to that. We served about 3,000 clients last year. Sometimes our 68-bed treatment center is full, other times it's not. Most of our clients are women. Most of our clients are men and very few are women, but we take some from St. Monica's when they need a respite program. Maybe they just need to get away, maybe they're having a kind of a volatile time, and they need to stay in a withdrawal environment, but they can't continue for, maybe they just need a little break. They don't have to come from a treatment center. But we have large dormitories for the men, but we only have a small segment for women. And because Lincoln has so many different community entities that support our causes, we let St. Monica's and Fresh Start and the Friendship Home do what we can't do the best. So not only did we serve 3,000 individuals, but we did 4,500 unique services. We do civil protective custody, which is what most people have the perception of the bridge. That's when somebody's publicly intoxicated. They're most likely brought to the bridge from LPD or LFR, from the police department or the fire department. And let me tell you, those are some of our biggest allies. The police department appreciates and respects what the bridge does. We save a lot of time in their admissions if the bridge weren't here. About a year ago, anybody familiar with there were some rumors going around that the bridge might be in jeopardy? Okay, that was blown out of proportion by the media. It was simply a technicality and a funding issue that meant we either had to increase staff or we had to change our funding. Well, we chose to lose some of the Region 5 funding so that we could maintain the services to as many people as possible. And because we chose to do that, the rumors started that we would lose our accreditation, and that would mean that we would close. And that was never an entity that, it's just such a complicated world to explain. Civil protective custody protects the individual. It protects them from themselves often. It protects them from adding another legal problem to what might already be a challenging life. It is not illegal to be publicly intoxicated, believe it or not, but the police department tries to intervene as best they can, as soon as they can. You might imagine that on game day weekends when there's a football game or a concert at Pinnacle Bank Arena, because we're located just 3 blocks down the road from Pinnacle Bank Arena and not far from the stadium, that we get a fair amount of intake. Now some of those men and women might be, and we do take women for civil protective custody, are not that bad off, but they're not able to drive, they're not able to take care of themselves, they may be physically sick, they may be going through some medical withdrawal. And so we take care of them and we don't release them until they have a family member or a friend who's able to take care of them. Now often the ones we hear about and the ones that are really painful to see are the ones who really need medical withdrawal. And they might need medical withdrawal under nursing care for a couple days, some of them up to 10 days, some of them longer, some of them, and we have 12 nurses on staff. Some might not be aware of that. We do have a significantly important medical withdrawal unit. We take care of them, we work with them, we make sure they're properly fed, hydrated. If they need withdrawal meds, they are supervised 24/7. So that's sort of like this, first they may come in as civil protective custody, then they may need medical withdrawal. Then some may need respite care. I kind of alluded to that if there are some young women who come from another place who need to just have a little time out. Then what a lot of people don't know is that the bridge is short-term and transitioning into a long-term treatment center. The average stay of the clients that I looked at on the board so far has been about 3 weeks. Some stay 6 weeks, some stay 6 months. It all depends on when their counselor thinks they're ready to re-engage and to increase their chances of sobriety of maintaining a functioning life again, changing their ways, changing their habits. That is obviously not an easy task. So we try at the Bridge not to send clients back out into their previous way of life because their chances of relapse are pretty high. So we do work a lot with Hustles of Hope. I know there's one up in this neighborhood, or at least the headquarters are here. We transition our clients as best we can. Their chances, again, like I said, are significantly higher. I'd like to tell you a little story about a young man named Bob. Bob visited the Bridge 3 different times on 3 different occasions. First, he woke up after some bad blackout things he doesn't remember. But the police brought him into Brian West. We work closely with the nursing staff there too. Doesn't remember a thing. I woke up to a nice nurse named Laurie. Laurie works half-time at Brian West and the other half at the Bridge in the Behavioral Health Medical Withdrawal Unit. She's a nurse. She job shares with another guy named Dave. And so when Dave's at the Bridge, Laurie's at Brian and vice versa. So Bob wakes up to Laurie, and Laurie works pretty closely, very patiently with Bob, suggests what's his next step. She doesn't necessarily push the Bridge, but she suggests maybe he might be ready for some treatment. So Bob comes to the Bridge, and he does a great program, and he really thinks he's got it going on. He is ready to go back. Only he's not prepared to change his life. He's not prepared to realize that the things that are going to knock on his door on a daily basis are going to trigger him to relapse. Bob was at a significant disadvantage in that his father picked him up for treatment. His father and him did not have a good, sound, healthy relationship. They didn't make good choices in the activities that they made. So his dad took him out and they did meth for 24 hours. So a tough thing to do with your parent. And he immediately relapsed, spent another couple of years out on the streets, not sure what he was going to do, had a hard time keeping a job, had a couple run-ins with law enforcement, had a couple more issues, and he ended up at the Bridge again. Woke up to the same nurse, Laurie, and that was a pleasant experience for Bob, because she was warm and kind and gentle. She took time to listen to him. That's often what it takes the most, is to just listen and to just put yourself in their shoes and realize that they haven't had an easy life. Substance use disorder is a disease. It has, as you will know, because you're already aware of it, you're already listening to other community organizations. It has such a stigma attached to it that they do this by choice, that they just make poor decisions, that boy, why can't they get their act together? Well, society's coming to realize that just as anything, we address the problem, we start to realize all the ripple effects that it has. It's a terrible, terrible thing, and society doesn't want to look at it. We only want to perhaps scoff when we hear civil protective custody or the drunk tank. Well, why are they there? That's where they need to be, or we need to get those people off the streets. Well, if the Bridge didn't exist, imagine where those 3,000 people might go. Imagine the safety of our community if those people were out doing drugs, repeating the things that have probably gotten them enrolled in their parole. Enrolled is maybe an interesting word, but it's just such a stigma. We tend to refer to it as substance use disorder. We promote interaction instead of intervention. We believe the client has to want to be present, not forced to be there. Families don't come to the Bridge and force their loved one or their friend to be admitted. They may give a gentle nudge, they may call and ask what they can do because they're in an impossible situation, Well, we help them understand what they can do, which is listen, which is help, encourage, give them a hot meal, feed them, take care of them physically, give them mental and emotional support, and encourage them to want to change. So when they come to the bridge, we do take that seriously. We don't just take anyone, but honestly, if we don't take them, where are they going to go? What are they going to do? Like I said, we're a nonprofit. We depend on Region 5 funding. We depend on donations. 25% of our budget comes from donations and fundraising. So part of my job as marketing director is also development. And so I help to do events. We Give to Lincoln Day was our biggest fundraiser of the year. We made about $30,000. That helps significantly, but it doesn't help us through the whole year. It doesn't carry us through the whole year. A lot of times our best support comes from a lot of people who might give $10, they might give $20. We depend on a lot of those small donations to carry us. Anything that people do to help, we are extremely grateful. Whether it's a donation bin with hygiene products and honestly, how far does clean underwear and socks go? Doesn't that make you feel good every time you go to buy it, or you get it, or we try to restore the pride and the dignity in the clients that we serve. We don't want them to feel that their clothing is hand-me-down, so we accept gently used stuff. We do coat drives. We do nice shoes. We actually get dress clothes for the young men. We try to prepare them to go on job interviews. We do a life skills curriculum, which is a 4-week program taught by our counselors, and our counselors are phenomenal. Starts with resume building, job searching, proper etiquette, what you say, what you don't say. A lot of them are terrified to be around law enforcement. So we hosted this life skills dinner. It's the first time. We had 12 tables with each table had an attorney, a law enforcer, people from the community, of maybe a CPA, maybe, and it was business casual. But for our young men, it was maybe the first time they'd worn a tie. I don't know how to tie ties. There was a certain sense of pride. There was a sense of, they were out of their comfort zone. They were fearful. But for the first time, they had a conversation with a police officer that wasn't through the back of the car. And I talked to one guy. He said, "I still am terrified when a police officer walks by," because we had our parking lot burgers and car wash event. And the clients washed many cars. They washed many police officer cars. They washed some UNLPD cars. And they still said, no matter what, I see someone in a uniform, and they just shiver. They just terrified. So we try to encourage them to think about life beyond. Get through the issues. Get through what they've got going on. Get a sponsor. Continue 12-step programs. Go to meetings as often as they can. So back to Bob. I don't want to talk too long here, but back to Bob. For the 3rd time he came to treatment. And this time he made it stick. He stayed for 6 months. He listened. He worked with the therapist. He stayed away from the bad influencers. He was slow to get back in relationship with his family. He severed the relationship with his father. As you can imagine, that's not easy to do. But you've got to think about yourself. You've got to survive. You've got to take care of yourself. And Bob transitioned to Houses of Hope. Now he lives in a house with a couple other guys. He graduated from both the Bridge and Houses of Hope. He has a good job. He owns his vehicle. He got his car insurance back. He doesn't have any children, but he's restoring his relationship with his girlfriend, hoping to get married and have a family of his own. He comes to meetings every week. We have a meeting on Sunday morning called Sunday Morning Hope, and it's every Sunday at 9 a.m. And if you wanted to see a room of smiling, happy, grateful people, It's the Lincoln's largest AA meeting, and it is held up at the loft of the bridge. And it is a pretty amazing experience. So Bob goes to Sunday Morning Hope every week. He comes on Tuesday nights. We have continuing care where we encourage clients to come back and stay focused on the issues that challenge them to relapse. Deal with their issues, deal with their problems. Often they don't have significant others or friends that they live with who understand their challenges. So we really do try to reintegrate them. One of the fundraising things that we try to do is something so simple that you might think is kind of odd, but just taking our clients out for social activities like going to the movies, going bowling, going to the escape room, which is something fun they all want to do, and we were able to get tickets for that, for a dozen tickets for the guys to go. It's just reintegrating them back to see that there are fun things that they can do, there are recreational opportunities available, they can make better choices, they can really focus on staying healthy. So those are just some things that people don't think of. Movie passes to Marcus Theater, stuff like that. Just stuff that really gets them feeling that people care about them, that people want them to succeed, that there's life after addiction, that there's life after substance use disorder. So I just thank you for having me here today. I thank you for caring about the bridge. I thank you for being insightful enough and caring and Christian enough to invite me here today. So thank you.